You are Locked On Warriors Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Bay Area, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors Postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And what did we tell you Sunday after that beatdown in Boston? We said the Warriors just needed to turn the page, forget about all that crap that we all saw out there. We knew that was not the Warriors game, and they did just that tonight as they bounced back from their Boston beatdown and took it to the Milwaukee Bucks and former MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo 125-90. The Dubs won by 35 tonight, a far cry from their 52-point loss in Boston on Sunday. Steph led the way with 29 points and 6 threes, but it really came from everywhere tonight. A TJD third quarter flurry, Kuminga attacking the paint, Draymond doing his thing on the defensive side of the ball, and Chris Paul just being as cool as the other side of the pillow in crunch time. We will break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports Bay Area YouTube channel. Please hit that subscribe button. Also, thanks for listening on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. Make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Wow, tonight, what a bounce back. Wiggins and Brandon Podziemski back in the lineup. The Warriors at full strength, healthy again. Finally, we see this team at full strength against a competitor, a championship level team, another team seeking the same thing Warriors fans want. The Bucks, legit contender coming out of the East. Giannis, Dame, Bobby Portis, who is just playing out of his mind the last couple weeks, including tonight. The Bucks have been one of the best teams in the NBA out of the All-Star break. This is their first loss post All-Star break. They lead like 6 or 7 different categories, both offensive and defensive categories, statistically since coming out of the break. But tonight, the Warriors had all the answers seemingly, and a lot of this comes from the Warriors being whole again. You felt it immediately. Wiggins and Podziemski, their presence was palpable. We use that word a lot on this podcast. I like that word, palpable. But Wiggins was getting active in those passing lanes, active hands jumping in. That's what he does on the defensive side of the ball. He's so long, he can get in those lanes so easily and quick and athletic, and turns those turnovers immediately into fast break opportunities. And that's what we saw tonight. Wiggins forces a steal, pushes ahead to Pods, who tosses up an alley-oop to Kuminga. Right away, we see this impact. And then Brandon Podziemski banks in a three, banks open, I guess, late on a Wednesday. And then he was getting his shots inside, got a layup, hit a three in the fourth there. This team is different with those guys on the court. I mean, when they have all of these pieces, they become so multiple. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show and why that is so key and who specifically on this team creates that for them. But tonight was just an all-around display of Warriors basketball at its finest. This offense clicking, grooving on all cylinders, everybody touching the ball whipping around the three-point line, everybody moving without the ball. The Bucks did look like they were clamping down on that defensive side in half-court defense starting the second half, but the Warriors figured it out. They figured it out, and the bench was a huge part of this one. And still early in this game, another thing I wanted to touch on, that Clay dunk in the second quarter, big moment, big moment for Dubs fans. It might not just it wasn't like the coolest dunk I've ever seen or anything like that. But the fact that it was Clay, you know how important it is by watching the other Warriors on the team react. You saw, depending on which broadcast you were watching, you either saw the Steph kind of like, ooh, face, or you saw Podziemski just in disbelief with his mouth agape and the towel over his head, just staring in disbelief. And the reason why that is so key, this guy went through 2 different injuries that would stop any other normal human being from dunking for the rest of their life. And he went through 2 of them and is throwing that down in a game. He looks bouncy. The way he landed was nice and clean. He looks healthy. I mean, it looks smooth. And how many times have you seen Klay throw down a dunk and look that smooth while doing it in the last couple of years since those injuries? I can't really recall that many. I mean, I remember one that he kind of threw down as like a statement when he came back, like pretty early after he came back from those injuries a couple of years ago, but it didn't really look smooth. And you knew he was doing it just to kind of stick it to everyone and show the world, like, I am Klay Thompson, I'm still here. But tonight, he just looked bouncy. When's the last time we saw Klay look this fresh this late in the season? And it's funny because we're talking about the exact opposite after that Boston game on Sunday, but Klay is just one of a kind, man. Who else can go through what this guy's gone through and still do what he does on the court? I mean, tonight off the bench, super efficient again, 4 of 7 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, plus 17, 10 points, 4 assists. I mean, no turnovers. What more do you want? What more do you want from Klay Thompson? What more do you want? It's I mean, maybe you want to see him scoring a little more, but did they need it tonight? They still put up 125. This ball movement, everyone took what was there. Nobody was forcing anything. It looked fluid, flowing like water, as we like to say. That is Warriors basketball. They led 78-58 at the half, up by 20. They had their largest halftime deficit of the year against Boston. Well, this was their largest halftime lead of the year tonight against Milwaukee, 78-58. Warriors were 12 of 19 from 3 in that first half. That trend continued as they finished 19 for 39, almost 50% from 3 in tonight's matchup. Steph had 17 at the half. Kuminga had 16 at the half. And you saw the Warriors' pace of play. Every time that there was a rebound, Warriors would try and push the ball, throw it up court. And GP2 pointed out at the halftime interview on NBC Sports Bay Area that they were trying to get out early in transition against Milwaukee and get them on their heels since their half-court defense had been so good. It worked. It seemed like it worked. When the Bucks finally, when the Bucks started to dictate the flow of the game in the third quarter, you saw their defense start to solidify again. But when the Warriors got back to playing their brand of basketball, their pace, letting Draymond Green kind of dictate things, it really changed how the Bucks were able to play defense against this Warriors team. And they weren't able to get in their half-court set and lock down their switches and things like that. It was all Warriors all night in this one. Only 5 first-half turnovers. Huge response compared to what they did in Boston. And we won't keep harping on this Boston thing. This will be kind of the last thing I throw at you. But one more funny stat. They had 38 points at the half against Boston. They had 78 points at the half tonight. It's a 40-point swing. 40 points. Just the dichotomy of what this team can be, it just is agonizing sometimes, man. But you'll let them get away with that one in Boston. It happens. I mean, you don't want to see it happen, but it happens. And they respond with a 35-point win tonight back at Chase Center. You'll take 3-1 on that tough East Coast road trip. But we need to see them winning some games at home, and that's exactly what they did tonight. It puts them 1 game over 500 at home, 16-15. They've been great on the road this year, especially compared to where they were last year. So kind of weird that they haven't been able to figure it out at home, but this is the time of year that they need to prove Chase Center is going to give them that lift. And you kind of felt it tonight in that third quarter. The Bucks shrank the Warriors' lead to 6 after tough shooting start for the Warriors and a 19-5 run for the Bucks. And they kind of looked like they had the Warriors' offense figured out. They were jumping into passing lanes. They were kind of reading what the Warriors were going to do coming off of screens and denying guys the ball. And then the bench came in. And then Trayce Jackson-Davis blocked Giannis Antetokounmpo 3 times in like 2 minutes. It was crazy. TJD is having a moment. We will talk about that a little bit more a little bit later, but just real quick. My God, Trayce Jackson-Davis, did Mike Dunleavy go 3 for 3 in his rookies? I mean, what is going on with Mike Dunleavy in his rookie draft class this year? I mean, just incredible stuff from Pods and Trayce Jackson-Davis. Incredible draft from Mike Dunleavy Jr. Does not get said enough. But that man, I was reminded of that by hearing Bob Myers on the ESPN broadcast. Yes, I did listen to both. Thank you. I'm curious what you guys like. Do you listen to Fitz and Buki, or are you going to Bob Myers and Mike Breen? Let me know in the comments. I'm just kind of curious what you guys all do. I flip back and forth. I like to get a variety. Get different takes, the national perspective, the local perspective. You gotta have it all, man. You gotta have it all. And that's what we try to bring you here on Locked On Sport, on Locked On Warriors postcast on Locked On Sports Bay Area. But the Trace Jackson Davis thing is a thing, and I think he's having a moment. And there's one man that we can thank for that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. You guys probably know who it is if you listen to the show. But in like 10 minutes, Trace Jackson Davis, less than 10 minutes, in like a 5-minute span in the third quarter, he had like 11 points, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks, and just completely, almost single-handedly stopped this Bucks run. I mean, they were getting to the rim repetitively over and over and over, and he just changed that. Against Giannis, I mean, this is one of the best open court offensive players in the league, save for maybe LeBron James. And this guy, Trace Jackson Davis, stopped him in all 3 times. Well, 2 of the 3 times Giannis was driving at the rim. One of them was a putback that Trace Jackson Davis also swatted away. I'm floored, man. I'm floored. This is better than you could have ever hoped for from this guy for his rookie season. I mean, who expected this from Trace Jackson Davis, a late second-round draft pick? I mean, I'm floored, man. I'm floored. This is amazing. What a performance tonight. Just single-handedly stopped that run. And Steve Kerr even said it on the ESPN broadcast. He said, they asked him what was the big difference in stopping that third quarter run. He just said Trace Jackson Davis. That was the kind of the reason. It starts and ends there. Amazing. And then in the fourth quarter, how good is it to have Chris Paul out there? He's just like a soothing warm blanket, which is weird because Chris Paul is like this like thorny like bush. I think of when he's like an opponent. I'm like, you get near him and he's prickly and he's just he's perfect in Arizona. He's like a cactus, in general, like towards everybody else. He's just disagreeable and just like, but here as a Warrior, you love the sturdiness that he provides, the comfort that you have when you see him out there. He just like makes you feel safe. Like I said, just like a warm blanket. It's like he's a big weighted warm blanket in that fourth quarter. And I just love seeing him out there. It's so weird to me that I love seeing Chris Paul in a Warriors uniform, but I really do, man. I really do. And they ratcheted up that defensive intensity in the fourth quarter. They played really, 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 really well in the fourth quarter. Did not turn the ball over very much. Just locked down defensively. And then Draymond hit his first fourth quarter 3 of the season. Steph splashing in 3s, just drives the dagger into the Milwaukee Bucks. The Warriors finally stop playing with their food and dominate a fourth quarter. And against a team that is playoff bound. They're number 2 in the East. This is a 40+ win team. They're going to win 50 games this year. And the Warriors, manhandled them tonight. Manhandled them. Played their game the way they wanted to. Made the Bucks adapt to them. Excellent game. Absolutely nothing to critique, but very, very, very little to critique in this one. We got a little bit more to get into on the other side. We got to talk about how Steph keeps getting disrespected. He got tackled again tonight from behind while dribbling the ball. It wasn't even off the ball. No call, of course. And we got to talk about this Trace Jackson Davis moment a little bit more, as well as what Kuminga's been doing and how multiple he makes this team, which is exactly what they need to win a championship. We'll talk about all that and a little bit more on the other side. You are listening to the Locked On Warriors postcast on Locked On Sports Bay Area and on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whatever you're into, speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back to Locked On Warriors Postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and tonight we saw, dare I say, a strength in numbers-esque performance. We say this a lot on this podcast, but it's a different guy every night. It really is. And tonight, it was Trayce Jackson-Davis, and he's kind of having a moment. He keeps coming into these games, and when he's in there, the crowd loves him. Chase Center loves him. You hear the passion that that erupts from the stadium. I mean, when he had those back-to-back blocks and then threw down the alley-oop in transition on the other side of the court after, I mean, you heard the roof blow off at Chase Center, and then he did it a second time, a second possession where he swats Giannis, goes down the floor, gets rewarded on the offensive end, and throws down the hammer. He did it twice in like a 2-minute span. And I thought Chase Center was just going to explode. I thought the whole roof was just going to blow off into the Bay and maybe make it all the way over to Oakland to back it to Old Oracle, you know? But that place got so loud. And Trayce is just becoming this guy all because of Chris Paul. Not all because of Chris Paul. Trayce obviously is doing the work. Don't take anything away from him. But what did we say? We talked about this a couple weeks ago, last month in February, about how Chris Paul has played with all of these Hall of Famers, and you guys know this. You guys know he's played with so many dudes that he has turned into superstars. I mean, does DeAndre Ayton have a max contract if he doesn't spend his rookie contract years with Chris Paul? I don't think he does. I think he's more like a Miles Turner kind of guy, but I mean, and that might even be a stretch. Miles Turner is pretty damn good compared to what we're seeing from DeAndre Ayton when he's healthy. But point being, Chris Paul has played with Hall of Fame big men. I mean, he's turned and he's brought all of them to that next level. Blake Griffin, Tyson Chandler, DeAndre Jordan, all these guys were Chris Paul duos. And we're seeing a little bits of those kinds of things happen in TJD. You can't tell me that tonight. I mean, we kind of made the Tyson Chandler comp earlier in the year, and I know they're not the same level of athlete, but kind of looks sort of like him out there. I mean, in short bursts, don't get me wrong, but he runs the floor really well. He's a force in the paint. He's a lot stronger. I mean, he doesn't look like he's got all sorts of muscle definition, but I mean, he's not weak in the paint. I mean, I wouldn't be taking it in there. He just, again, Giannis Antetokounmpo, former MVP, one of the best big men in the NBA, manhandled 3 times in like 2 minutes by Trayce Jackson-Davis. And it's his coming out party. We've seen the Kuminga coming out party. We've seen the Brandon Pajemski coming out party. And now we are seeing Trayce Jackson-Davis have his own. And I don't want to say it's a matter of time, but it almost feels like it with these Warriors draft, the way that the Warriors drafts go in the last few years in this. I mean, not even the Bob Myers era, because Bob's obviously gone. He was doing the game on ESPN tonight, but the Bob Myers era into the Mike Dunleavy era. I mean, these guys hit on so many of their draft picks, and Kerr doesn't get a ton of credit for developing these guys. But I mean, you look at what they're doing right now with Kuminga and the way that these other rookies have come on. You got to give some credit to the Warriors coaching staff. You got to give some credit to the coaches on the floor, the Chris Pauls, the Draymond Greens, the Steph Currys of the team. Just an amazing thing we're seeing here. We talked a whole lot about the whole 2 timeline thing when with the Wiseman draft and all that. I mean, that was the topic for the whole year from the lockout season, or not the lockout season, the COVID season, the 2020 season, the bubble season. That was kind of the Warriors conversation because there wasn't a whole lot else to talk about. But the whole conversation was the 2 timelines and how that's kind of like out the window now because Wiseman's gone. Let me tell you, that's not really out the window. And it's not really a 2 timeline thing either. It's a 1 timeline thing. They can be good now and good later, you know? And Kuminga, if you tell me the nucleus of this team after Steph is gone, after Steph retires, is going to be Brandon Pajemski, John Kuminga, Trace Jackson Davis, that's a good start, man. That's a really good start. Throwing a Moses Moody, maybe, if they can hang on to him for that long. That's a nucleus you can work with. That's something you can build on. Kuminga is, we'll talk about this more on the other side, but he's averaging close. He's putting up numbers that other guys in the league are putting up that are MVP candidates, leading MVP candidates. And he's proven he's in the upper echelon of players in the NBA, and he's just going to get better. He doesn't really have the best jump shot right now. He's got that nice little mid-range jumper, but he's not a knockdown 3-point shooter. He's only going to get better at 3-point shooting, hanging out with guys like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and the Golden State Warriors coaching staff. He's only going to get better at these things. And we'll talk about that a little bit more on the other side. I did say Klay Thompson, so I need to get this in real quick. Klay came to the game on the boat today. You should have known right then that this game was over. He went live on his Instagram, and all he kept saying was, man, what a day. He said these conditions are immaculate, and they were. If you looked around the Bay Area today, or really anywhere in the great state of California, it was beautiful. And what a day for Klay. I mean, coming over on the boat, 10 off the bench, super efficient, go home with the 35-point win and one of the Warriors' most complete dominating wins of the season, one of the best fourth quarters they've played of the season, playing some of the best defense they have played all season, bouncing back after that loss in Boston. What a way to come back to Chase Center in San Francisco. Warriors are happy to be home, and we're happy you're here on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Stick with us. We'll be right back. We got to talk a little bit more about John Kuminga on the other side. You are listening to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and we will be right back. Locked On Sports Bay Area is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest. Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, I want to say how I really feel about something. You might even be thinking about the same thing this week. This Warriors team still stressing me out, as they have been all year with all their nail biters, inconsistencies, 52-point loss against Boston on Sunday, 35-point win tonight. Their inconsistency on the court is damn near as inconsistent as my life is off the court. And therapy, that's where therapy comes in. That's where BetterHelp can help you. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible, and suited to your schedule. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast on Locked On Sports Bay Area and on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and we got to talk about John Kuminga. I told you guys last show that we'd talk about him, and we didn't get to it, and I promised you guys we'd get to him tonight. So here we go. Tonight, great night for Kuminga. What did I tell you after that Boston game? I said any night's a good night to talk to Kuminga. And tonight, 20 points. which is interesting that he scored 20. We'll get to that in just a second. Plus 12. And he shot 9 for 14 from the field. That efficiency is key. And the reason why averaging over 20 and shooting that well from the field is key is because Kuminga is only one of 5 players in the entire NBA to average 20 plus points and 56% plus shooting from the floor since the All-Star break. This is a list with guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, guys that are former MVPs, guys that are Jokic leading the MVP race right now, odds-wise. And Kuminga's putting up numbers at that level that only these other 4 players in the NBA are putting up right now. And he's literally playing at close to an MVP level since the All-Star break. And that is not a stretch. I know you might be listening to this saying you're insane. He's not even the most valuable player on this team. And he's probably not, but numbers wise, I'm just telling you what the numbers say, man. And they say that he's on pace with Jokic and Giannis right now, and not quite at that level. Jokic is averaging a couple more points per game during that streak, but it's prevalent that Kuminga is turning into this guy. I'm so glad the Warriors did not trade him over the summer. I screamed to everybody who would listen that would be the worst thing that they could do, and thank the basketball gods that they did it, because Kuminga is the only reason that this team has a shot at winning a championship. And it's because when they pair him with the other guys who do kind of similar things to him, not quite the same thing, because he is pretty special and unique in the way that he operates on the court, the way he can get into the paint pretty much at will, and the way he's working in that jump shot now, that mid-range jumper into his game to play off of his post game. He's turning into a real weapon in today's NBA for the Warriors. But when you pair him with guys like Wiggins and Draymond, who are really athletic and can, play all these different positions and switch all over the place on defense, it opens him up to play free, as you heard him say in a post-game interview the other night. And it allows the Warriors to become multiple. And the reason that's important is because, as we've said before on this podcast, good teams win games the way they're supposed to win games. Great teams can win games lots of different ways. They don't need anything to go a specific way. They can find a way to win. Kuminga elevates this team to a great team, a championship contender team. Tonight, the Warriors looked like a team that can win a championship against a team that very well could be playing for the Eastern Conference in the finals. They could be the representation from the East. Absolutely. The Bucks are with tonight's loss, they are 41-22, second place in the East. They had won 6 straight. Every single game out of the All-Star break, they had won coming into tonight. It was a dominant win in a night that you saw Bob Myers honored at Chase Center returning. You saw, if you watched the ESPN broadcast, you heard him catching some grief from Steve Kerr and for crying during the ceremony they had for him. And I'll give Bob a pass. We aren't gonna shame men for crying on this podcast. You can go ahead and cry, Bob. You go ahead and cry. Beautiful moment with your family and the team that you gave so much of your life to. So many good things from tonight. Just to recap, Wiggins and Podziemski come back. Impact felt immediately. Trace Jackson-Davis, third quarter flurry. Chris Paul, as comforting as a warm blanket. Steph Curry had the quietest 29 points he's going to have all year long. We barely even talked about him and his 6 threes. It was a phenomenal night from the Warriors. Kuminga, another 20 plus points and super efficient from the field. Klay on the boat. I mean, what more do you really need? What more do you really need in a Warriors win? 35 points against a championship contender. The whole team clicking. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Warriors in double figures. Great game. Next time we will come at you live tomorrow. Warriors play the Bulls, 7 p.m. at Chase Center, and we will go live right afterwards, as we always do here on Locked On Warriors Postcast. And that's about all the time that we have for today. We'll catch up with you tomorrow. Hope you guys all enjoyed this little bit of a break from Warriors basketball. I know I kind of needed a break after that Celtics game. I took a nice little break, went up to Tahoe, got myself some nice laps up there. It was really great on the snowboard, really enjoying those last couple days. Felt like Klay out there, just looking around going, man, this is beautiful, just immaculate. So, pretty solid day all around. Warriors get that win. We got some Tahoe vibes going. And the Warriors will look to get their second win of this homestand, this little condensed mini homestand tonight or tomorrow night against the Chicago Bulls, 7 p.m. Chase Center. That's a game they should win. I'm going to go ahead and say the Warriors need to win that game in order to keep pace with everyone else in the West, in order to keep pace with those damn Lakers. I hate the Lakers, man. I really hate the Lakers and every other team from LA. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Eric Triple E Engel, and this has been the Locked On Warriors Postcast, and we will see you next time. Peace.